2 years later, and I realized I did not review episode number 6 of The Best Shape of My Life on Will Smith's journey to lose 20 pounds in 20 weeks. Now, obviously, you notice I look a lot different now, and that is because I turned 60 this year. So I decided not to dye my hair. It's how far I've gotten with my natural gray. Why did I do that? I realized that my clients, when they come to me to help them to burn off the belly fat and reverse disease, I do it all naturally. So I started to wonder, well, why am I dyeing my hair if I'm asking my clients to do things naturally? So that's why last year I decided just to let Mother Nature go, and I'm quite happy with her results. Instead of gray, I call it my chrome highlights. But anyways, let's go back to the review that I'm doing. And the reason I'm doing the review is because the big thing about my platform is that I know that there is more misinformation out there about weight loss and dieting and exercise. And it's making a lot of you guys go down the wrong rabbit hole. And you're going to see here in this journey for Will Smith, he has hired a very expensive team around him to get him to his goals. So let me get started and then I'll chime in as we go.
How difficult is it to balance the book and the fitness goals?
I had no idea. I was not prepared for the level of pain and drain that would be in this journey. Revisiting of trauma and relationships and all of that, like I had no idea how debilitating that would be. Human beings are creatures of narrative. I created the narrative of Will Smith, and then movie companies sell the narrative. A big part of it is true, but there's certain aspects of it that are avoided. At this point in my life, authenticity is much more powerful than mystery. This is me, y'all. This is me, y'all. It's not about the weight or the book as much as what it says about my mind. My mind is suffering and subject to the same appetites and desires and cravings and self-destructive behavior as everybody else.
Okay, I just want to stop here when he says his mind is subject to the same suffering of the appetites and desires of anyone else. This again solidifies what I've been trying to say to you all throughout this 6-episode series, and that is that your mind is going to have an effect on how you perform. Your mind's going to have an effect on what you desire and what you crave. But here's the key that he is failing to understand. That is, he can make adjustments to have his mind not have these cravings that he so has to put in willpower to work against. And see, this is where I have a huge problem with the no pain, no gain kind of mentality. It's because they're focused over here on saying, I've got all this willpower so that I can reach this goal. And I say, you don't need willpower when you know how to work with your body rather than against it. And that's the whole thing that I've seen in this 6-episode journey of his, is that he is not working with his body. And again, it goes back to Coach Aaron. It goes back to his nutritionist. It goes back to his medical doctors. They're working off of misinformation that's been put out there by the diet, fitness, and pharmaceutical industries and the supplement industry. All of them try to put all of this weight on you and blame on you so that you'll buy into the fact that you're failing and therefore you need their pill, their supplement, or their diet or their fitness program in order to succeed. And that's the game that's being played. It's just, let's make you believe this so that you will buy that. And that's what I have a huge problem with, especially all over the internet today with Dr. Google.
So that's a failure for this week. You don't bring a film crew and everything, Jazz, if you don't have everything set up.
I'm finished with the best shape of my life. Everybody is trying to figure out how to be in this world. For the most part, I think we all move in and out of being loving and being unloving.
God damn it!
Being wise and being foolish.
You okay, man?
We're all toggling and moving back and forth between those ideas. And when we find ourselves in that most joyful, loving space where we're being compassionate and caring, our choices are going to be heroic.
If you haven't seen the previous episodes, I want to remind you that the biggest problem I have with his coach is that he's focused on the wrong thing, and that is the scale. When it comes to getting in the best shape of your life, you shouldn't be focused on the scale, because the scale is not going to tell you all the data that you really need. It's more likely going to send you off in the wrong direction. And Will Smith is an example of exactly the wrong direction it's going to send them off in. You're going to see him throughout previous episodes get really upset when he doesn't reach the quote unquote targeted weight goal.
202 flat would be on schedule. Is that correct, Mr. Ferguson?
Yep, 202.
Now you're going to see how silly they are when it comes to them focusing on Will being just under 2 pounds over the amount that they expected him to be. And this is how ridiculous these guys are when it comes to focusing on the wrong thing.
Your expert opinion, Mr. Ferguson, does that have anything to do with my age or more to do with my food selection?
I think it's got a little bit to do with your brain.
My brain, right.
Yeah.
Mr. Ferguson, are you a brain specialist?
No.
It's ironic that Will asked if Coach Aaron was a brain specialist. Just to give you some more background on myself, actually as an eye doctor, when we look into your eyes, are actually looking at part of your brain. And here's more explanation on that. And just so that you understand how I came about knowing to work with the body rather than against it, comes from my decades of being an eye doctor and looking into the eyes of my patients, who were, many of them, very unhealthy when it came to either cardiovascular disease or type 2 diabetes. And I want to just pull up a picture of the retina here. And when an eye doctor who's well trained in looking for health problems, looking inside of the eye is the only place a doctor can look inside and see what's going on with your cardiovascular system without cutting you open. And this is a beautiful picture of a retina. And this is the arteries and the veins in the retina. And what makes the eye so special is that these arteries and veins are much tinier than those that are going to be around your heart, which means that problems that are going to happen in the heart happen much sooner in the eye because of the size of the blood vessels being tinier and more easily affected. But again, more on that later. During this entire 6-episode series, not once do I see Coach Aaron pulling out a tape measure and measuring around his belly button. And if I can help any of you guys right now, this is the best tip I can give you. And that is, right now, take a tape measure and measure around your belly at the belly button. This way you know exactly where you are today. And you continue to measure around the belly at the belly button when you want to know if you're moving in the right direction. Now, that's what they should have been doing with Will. And there was one point in a episode where Coach Aaron had a little piece of paper on it and he had some numbers written, but it was more things that, like his arms and his chest and his legs, the size of maybe his biceps. All of that is irrelevant when it comes to actually getting healthy. What means good health is having a waist that is shrunken in. Just like you would see on a beautiful woman would have an hourglass figure because of the fact that her waist is smaller than her bust and her butt. Just like with a man, you would see a V shape, which means that their shoulder area is wider than their waist area. And that would really be an indication of moving in the right direction. But here we go. We're going to see how upset Will gets over this. And it's unfortunate and unnecessary because he's unwilling to see the benefits that he has reached and how hard he's been working.
Go to another document.
but he was divided between the two projects, obviously. And I think he's really starting to feel the pressure of the pending deadline.
We came to Dubai, writing my book, breaking this weight. Now we head to Miami. Bienvenido a Miami, let's get it.
What do you think the chances of Will showing up today are?
Pretty minimal. Yeah, he's done. He's over working on this aspect. He's working on the book.
He's working on his book.
Yeah.
One of Will's core conflicts clearly comes from his relationship with his father. And the only way that Will can let go of some of those chains of the past is to recognize that he's not his father, but rather he's taking away the parts of his father that speak to him and using those to inform his career and his life.
Okay, one thing I want to interject here when Will shows pictures of his father, I'm going to show you pictures of my father. And this is to show you that my father has been someone who has wanted to stay in shape all of his life. This is him when he's in his 20s, and this is him when he's in his 80s. And the picture that I'm showing you here in his 80s is because he went to Cuba to ride a bicycle across Cuba the long way. Yes, he was very competitive all his life and wanted to exercise to the extreme. Now here's a picture of my oldest brother who was a competitive bodybuilder. And this is after being a long distance runner. And before that, he was a gymnast. And then after being a competitive bodybuilder, he went on to become a deadlift champion. But also in his 60s, he became the toughest cop in the world. And he won that title when he was in Ireland. So I come from a family of very athletic men who have shown me that exercise is not the answer to good health, because both of these men ended up with the same metabolic disease a lot of men have once they turn 50 and they start getting a belly on them. More on that later.
Daddy-O knew he was dying. I came to see him every week. One night, as I delicately wheeled him from his bedroom toward the bathroom, a darkness arose within me. The path between the two rooms goes past the top of the stairs. I could shove him down and easily get away with it. I'm Will Smith. No one would ever believe I killed my father on purpose. As a child, I'd always told myself that I would one day avenge my mother. As the decades of pain and anger and resentment coursed, then receded, I shook my head and proceeded to wheel Daddy-O to the bathroom. Hey, Dad, I said nervously.
Okay?
You did good. He took a pull off his Tarot 100, turned his eyes back to the TV. He didn't seem like he was ready to go there just yet, but I was. I'm saying you did a great job with your life. And when you're ready to go, I want you to know that it's okay. You raised me well, and I got it from here. I'm gonna take care of everybody you love. Daddy-O nodded his head, his eyes welled. The soldier was gone.
Looking back at this time when your kids were growing up, is there anything that you wish you had done differently?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's things that I regret doing the way that I did them. I'm about to tear up myself over this. I really regret that on occasion, I would fly off the handle. And I wish I had that ability to give things more thought before reacting. Damn, I gotta take a break on that one.
When I was reviewing this journey of Will Smith, this was before the slap with him at the Oscars to Chris Rock, the slap that was seen and heard all over the world. So I'm kind of glad I didn't do this review of episode 6, because now I can bring into this the exact thing that his father said, that he wished he would have had more thought before reacting. And as you guys know, when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars in front of millions of people watching television, as well as the live audience of all of his peers, it really showed that Will Smith, as much as he didn't want to become his father, in that moment, he was his father. All of that culminating with Chris Rock making a joke about his wife.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
But yet, unfortunately, Will Smith turned out to be exactly like him in that moment, where he reacted rather than thinking about his actions. It's understandable why Will Smith turned out to lash out at Chris Rock, but now we know where it comes from with what he saw growing up in his family, where his father abused his mother. Just to bring health into it, one of the things that you guys have to realize, if you're under stress, that's a time where you're going to be more reactionary than you are common sense wise. And this is another reason why I love when I teach my guys in my course how to reverse disease naturally. They find an inner peace and less anxiety and less stress as they're going through this, because they're putting their body back into balance, homeostasis. And this is what's important for you guys to understand, watching Will Smith's journey through trying to lose the weight in a tough fashion. His emotions are all over the place, and that's not a good place to be. That's a very dangerous place to be.
I think any time a person has had conflicts with their own parents, the mistake we often make is to commit ourselves to not make any of the mistakes that our parents made.
Is your other son here? Did he roll up yet?
You're the only responsible child I have.
By revealing his inner thoughts during key moments of his life to his children, Will is likely looking for understanding for what he views as mistakes or errors.
And as strange as it may sound, in that moment, I discovered feelings. I started to see feelings everywhere. People get furious, excited, frustrated, hopeful, hopeless, disappointed, fearful, embarrassed. Everybody's caught in their feelings, making all their decisions all the time based only on how they feel. Even my aversion to feelings is based on how I feel about feelings. I felt like Christopher Columbus, who had discovered this new place that people was already at. Nobody gives a shit about anything except how they feel.
Will's father, he died at the age of 77, and I just want to point this out to you guys. He was an alcoholic and a smoker all of his adult life. But yet, the human body, as amazing as it is, he lived to the ripe old age of 77 years of age. And in contrast, I want to put that up to people that you have known that have dieted and exercised and were fit and trim all their life, didn't smoke, didn't drink, who you thought were quote unquote healthy, died in their 50s of a heart attack or of a stroke. And people wonder, wow, why was that? Did they just get bad genes? And no, it's not anything to do with bad genes. It's to do with not understanding how the human body works. And this is where people can go wrong judging a book by its cover or judging a person by how they eat and what they drink and what they do in their recreational time as to how soon they're going to die. I would look at Will Smith and tell him that your father lived a very long life for as much as he abused his body. So this is to tell you guys out there that are overweight and have bellies that you want to get rid of, and you have cardiovascular disease, things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, that you can reverse those things without having to give up the quote unquote, what you would call vices that you have, because you've been misinformed to say that it's your fault based on what your lifestyle is. No, what it is not knowing how to dive into how the body actually works to make those little changes that change the trajectory of how your body works for you rather than against you. But now what I do want to say about Willard Smith Sr. here, when he died at his 77th year, I think he almost made it to 77, that most of my clients are in the 70s, and we're still able to get rid of the belly fat without diet or exercise and also reverse disease.
Daddy-O had poured all of his gifts into me, and at the end of his life, he saw that I had used them to build my life. He was fulfilled through his giving, and warts and all, he was content in how he had loved me. And then by the grace of a benevolent creator, in his final days, when he had nothing left, I was blessed to pour my gifts into him.
You're a beautiful person.
All right. Clap him in, clap him in, clap him in.
That was amazing.
Starting to run again. 2 weeks off, finishing up the book. The book's more exhausting than working out.
Yeah, I just want to interject here what Will Smith said, that writing the book was more exhausting than working out. This is where I am supportive of a client when he comes into the program and he enjoys working out, because for some people that is a stress reliever. And I'm not saying that you can't work out, because I teach men how to get rid of belly fat without diet or exercise. But certainly if you come in here and you love exercising, well, then I'm going to help you exercise so you don't ruin your body in ways that I see Will doing while he's doing this program, where it is excessive. Sometimes people choose to go to the gym on a regular basis just so that they feel better about themselves also on the other side of it, even though they never seem to lose the belly fat, but yet they've been going to the gym for 2 years. Now that's a person who, in my opinion, is doing something so they can pat themselves on the back and say, hey, I'm working towards it. Regardless of the fact that they're not getting results is irrelevant. It's just they feel better knowing that they're doing something. So either way, I am supportive, but my goal is to bring you into the course and show you how to be much more productive when you do work out, so you don't have to spend the hours that Will Smith is doing to try to get into, quote unquote, the best shape of his life.
I'm happy for him. I don't think things went exactly as planned, but it's about peace of mind, isn't it? Like we're all trying to find that, I think. For me, I do it for sanity. I know that when I go for a run, I'm a better person. It's very grounding. And I think, what we got to accomplish during the time, I think he learned a lot. He's well on the way to maintaining that healthy, sustainable routine. Yeah, I think he did awesome. I'm really proud of him.
Coach Aaron says he's well on his way to maintaining a healthy, sustainable routine. I call bullshit on that. Nobody can maintain 2 workouts a day. And by the way, in the previous episodes, you'll notice that those 2 workouts did not include the morning run that he would do or the morning hike. So there was actually 3 separate workouts that he was doing on a regular basis. So I would have liked for Aaron to explain what he really means by the word, quote unquote, sustainable. Because in my book, sustainable means something that you as a normal everyday person can do for the rest of your life. So it builds upon day in and day out, making things better and better for your body without having the struggles. Because I guarantee you, it takes a lot of willpower for Will to get up off his ass and go do all the exercise he's doing. But remember, that's the whole reason I am reviewing this, is to show that way is not necessary and it's not actually productive for 99.9% of the population. Because if you have to rely on willpower in order to get something done, then you're doing it the wrong way. And how do I know that? Because your human body is extremely, extremely adept at trying to keep you alive. You just got to get out of your own way sometimes. Because unfortunately, when you don't know how the human body works, you're going to make it a lot harder to accomplish things because you don't know how to do it the easy way. And again, this is why I have a problem with coaches that are in the gym talking about no pain, no gain, and the more you can do, the better. All of that is just misinformation and blaming you for lack of success, when the reality is we should be blaming the coaches for their wrong methodology of going about it, because they've fallen into the trap of the misinformation.
The only way to actually create balance is to have boundaries. Will, like any of us, is looking for something sustainable, something that could be about a lifelong commitment to his own sense of balance between body, mind, and soul.
Funny enough, here's my favorite person, Dr. Ramani, saying exactly what I was just trying to explain earlier. She said it better than I did, though. Getting a balance between mind, body, and soul. That is what's wrong with what Coach Aaron is trying to do with Will in creating this no pain, no gain system and having to rely on willpower in order to succeed. He should have listened to Dr. Ramani and tried to figure out the way of how do you create a balance between the mind and the body and the soul? And I'm happy to say that is exactly what I teach in my 8-week course, but more on that later.
You're out here solo today.
I don't consider you with me to be solo, Jazz.
Okay, well.
You are somebody. Repeat after me, Jazz. I am.
I am.
Somebody. I am.
Okay, I am
somebody. There you go. All right. Peace.
Hey, see you, man. Big ups, good stuff.
He's back. He's back. Y'all saw that. Everyone saw that. I think he did 2 laps, not 3, but I don't know. Still awesome.
Okay, I have to stop there and congratulate Will on how damn good he looks there. It would have been awesome for us to be getting a waist measurement. And I'm going to point to right here. There's his belly button. Had we gotten a measurement around his belly button, we would have known with his first measurement on day 1 of his journey if he was obese or not. And here's how you guys will know if you're obese. If you take your height in inches, you divide it by 2, and whatever that number is, if your waist is that measurement or more, you are considered obese. So if you do the math on it really quickly, you take 6'2", which is 74 inches, you divide that by 2, you end up at 37 inches. If his waist measurement when he first started was 37 inches or more, he was obese. And guys, if you take a look at that measurement as your watermark for what you need to at least be below so you're not considered obese, you're going to be surprised how small that really is. Because unfortunately now the medical society is starting to move the goalpost and allow people to be heavier and heavier and say that you're still healthy. And here's the problem. When you are younger and you're putting on weight, You can put it everywhere. Your body has the ability to store it in your arms, your legs, your toes, your ankles. But when it gets to the point of you being age 50 and above, your body starts to break down and it's not as easily able to hoard the extra weight anywhere else but your belly. So this is why those of you who may be listening to this video right now may be what you call skinny fat. And that is when you have all the weight centered around your belly and that's it. And I actually had clients come in to the course and say, well, I'm really good everywhere except for my belly. Well, that is a indication that you are much more unhealthier than you believe, or much more unhealthier than you really know. And here's the reason. When I get a client who's 50 years old and overweight and chubby everywhere, they're not going to have as much metabolic disease as a man who has less weight on them, but more centered around the gut. Because the one around the gut, that is the dangerous fat. And then you also have the other end of it, where you have someone who looks as good as Will does right now in this photo. Will Smith is probably about 52 to 53 years of age. Here's what I want to get across to you, and that is, even though he looks terrific right there, regardless of how much he weighs, I will say he looks fantastic. And he looks fantastic because he has very little gut around here.
All right, so I don't look bad though. I don't feel like I look bad.
Now, what I would like for you guys to understand is just because he looks fantastic doesn't mean he's healthy. And this is where it comes into play, where I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family of athletic men who were athletic all their lives. You want to know more about that story, I'll have a video linked where you can go into a deeper dive into my family history. But it was because of my father and my oldest brother, a competitive bodybuilder, who were always in shape all their life and exercised all their life and avoided coffee, avoided alcohol, didn't smoke, went to bed on time, all of the things that you're supposed to do, all of the things that I, as an eye doctor, would tell my patients to do who were ill, saying, you know, if you diet and exercise, things would be better, because that's what we were taught in the medical industry. But guess what, people? Someone like Will right here, right now, in this picture, in this video, probably at age 52, could look fantastic, but still have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, or some sort of other cardiovascular disease that hasn't reared its ugly head yet. And he doesn't know this, more than likely, because none of the labs were shared during the video. But even if they were shared during this video, I guarantee you that the doctors looking at those labs still do not know how to look at labs to know where disease is years before things start falling apart on you. And this is what I mean. I have so many clients that have come in who have told me when I do my interview with them and I say, well, what's going on? They say, well, I just have this belly fat I want to get rid of, but my doctor says I'm healthy. And that's where I said, let's not say that until we look at the labs. And they'll tell me, no, my doctor said, I just had the labs done. I said, I'm great. I guarantee you, every time I've had a client tell me that, when they come in and I look at their labs, I see 3 things on average that their doctors failed to see on the labs. And why is this? Because doctors are trained to look at things that they can prescribe a medication for. So all they're focused on is typically a marker that has a drug attached to it. This is where you wonder, what's the real game being played here? It's not that the doctor's a bad person. It's just, unfortunately, doctors are trained to be steered in that way by Big Pharma, because Big Pharma has an effect on the medical schools. And Big Pharma has an effect on the medical schools because it makes it more profitable for them to have doctors that graduate and go out in private practice and keep focusing on things that bring more clients to the bottom line of Big Pharma. And therein lies where I have a huge problem with the way the medical industry is run. So I don't have anything against doctors. I have a lot against Big Pharma. Doctors are unfortunately pawns in the game that Big Pharma is playing. But more on that later. If you want to see the video, I'll link it below. It'll be called the 5 steps to getting rid of belly fat without diet and exercise. But back to Will Smith here. It would be so awesome if I could have his labs and go over them because I guarantee you Will Smith has some metabolic disease going on. And the reason I say that is because in the course of watching his lifestyle in these 6 episodes, I see the stress level that he is under. And by the way, guys, even if you don't eat incorrectly, and even if you're not overweight, if you have a high stress life, you're going to have the same metabolic disease as a guy who sits on the couch and just watches Netflix all day, eating chips and drinking soda. You can actually have as many health problems as that same person. And you'll wonder, wow, stress can do that? Yes, you've probably heard it. Stress can kill you. And there's multiple ways that it can kill you. But more on that later.
All right, so here's my last one.
Sometimes achieving the actual goal earns you almost nothing, but the journey itself teaches you everything you need to know.
Season 2?
Yeah, we should just start season 2 right now.
Now, at this point, they talk about season 2. I would love season 2 to be about, hey, let's show you how to work with your body rather than against it. I would invite Will Smith, if he ever sees this video, to click on down below and get in touch with me. And I would love to do season 2 with him to show him how a 50-year-old man and older can get rid of belly fat without having to diet or exercise and without having to do the no pain, no gain. So if you're a guy who's out there who has belly fat that you want to get rid of, and you know that you want to live in the real world and still enjoy life, then click the link below this video. It's my calendar. You can get on there and talk directly with me, and I look forward to talking to you on the other side.